So we've seen a chart, but how do we decipher the information that's on there? It's all very well having a chart and understanding what it's showing us, but how can we decipher that, and how can we generate a good trade idea from that? Now, for me, there are four main things or skills to learn when you're looking at a chart. And we're going to run through each one in detail. So the first one is support and resistance. So we look at what is support, what is resistance, and why that is important. Secondly, trend lines. What are trend lines? How they're important, and how can we draw them on our chart? Now, three, key levels. A little bit different from support and resistance. I'll explain that why, and how can we trade from them, what they're used for. And then the final one, which I think is overlooked by many traders, but honestly it's very, very important, is the time of day. We get so focused on price. Time of day is very important. I'll tell you why in a second, and what we can expect when we're utilizing that time of day, and how we capitalize on it. So let's look at our DAX chart again. Okay, and I'm going to use a 15-minute. Let me see if we can use a 15, or maybe we should use an hourly. Let's just pick a good time frame that we can use. So what is support and resistance? Well, basically support and resistance are areas where the price has moved to, but not being able to break through. Okay, and the more times the price has approached that level and not been able to break through, the stronger that support or resistance is. So I'd look at this chart now, and I would say we have got some strong support down here. So I'm just using my drawing tool, and I'm putting a line to represent what's called support here. Now, when you're drawing your support or resistance levels, you don't have to be finite. You can see that we've bounced through it by a few ticks here and there, and it's not a very accurate level, but it doesn't matter. It's often the case. Sometimes you will get it moving right to the tick, and it will just touch it and then move away, but often you're going to get this scenario where it just sometimes goes through, comes back. But the main thing is to see here is that is a key support level. The price has been supported every time it has come to that level. Now, why does that happen? Going back to that seesaw analogy, there's two things. One is that the supply has been shut off. In other words, sellers have got to that point and said, I'm not prepared to sell any lower. And so the natural change of supply and demand has caused the price to drift back up. The other way of looking at it is that buyers have been waiting for that level to buy at, and then they've come in, they've bought it, and it's caused the price to rise because they've decided that they're going to start their buying at that level. So that's how we draw a support. Now, how do we draw resistance? Well, resistance is just vice versa. If you look up here, I could see that twice in 2 days we've tagged this high, and I would say there you go, there's a nice resistance level there up at that high. Okay, it's basically telling us it's the opposite of support. It's where the market has gone to and hadn't been able to push through. It's encountered resistance to the upside. So support is underneath the market, resistance is above the market. And if actually we drill down and go into a 5-minute chart, let's look at some intraday kind of stuff. I'm going to notice straight away on the prior day, look at this resistance here. If I just zoom it down here, so each candle's representing 5 minutes. But look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If not, even if you count those, that's a big, thick, key area of resistance that the market failed to push through. So that's information for me, and I can even go right the way down and say, well, actually, look, I've got a really short-term support here over a 15-minute period. So I've got a 15-minute support, and then eventually that support broke, and you can see how the momentum took the price through. So very important to be marking these down on your chart, as it is to be looking at your bigger time frames as well. So we go back to our daily. Let's reset the scale a little bit. We can look at our daily and say, well, yeah, that resistance level that we had yesterday or a few days ago was very key because it's been a daily resistance level, and the support level that we've got in has been in play for many, many days. Let me just remove all drawing objects, and I just want to look at this and just show you something as well, going back to the concept of support and resistance. So we recognise that support is underneath the market, resistance is over the market. You get what's called a transition. If we look here and we look at this price when we were back here, this level, this 10,400 level, 10,390 level was a key resistance level. We bounced off it in late April, we bounced off it in June, and then we bounced off it again Sorry, that's just in May, is it, or just the beginning of June? Probably the end of May, and then again at the beginning of June. So that became a decent resistance level. We can see that, we can understand the concept of that. However, we then broke through that in the summer. We had one more struggle to get through it. Then we broke through that resistance level, and that has now, what's done, become support. So after we break through the key level, when we come back down and revisit, we can then change that what was resistance into now support, and see how the market has bounced off it once, twice, and we're now right at it and we're testing it. So this is a really big, key, important level that all traders of the DAX are going to have on their chart. It was resistance, it bounced off it several times, and it's now become support. So that's how you draw your resistance support lines, whichever time frame you're looking at. You don't have to be completely accurate with it. I don't think you need to be really, really focused on it, but you just have to be broad and say that's a really key level. That's going to come into play during the trading day or not, as the case may be. But at least if you know it's there, then you can be prepared.